Welcome to the Rich Flow of Life podcast. Join Valerie Kanay, the award-winning authority author, as she takes you on a journey for your personal evolution. Valerie Kanay talks to enlightened featured guests who hold the keys to unlock your unique life situation. They each bring to the table their very powerful personal spin to inspire and empower you to learn to step up your game into the rich flow of life.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Valerie Kanay, and today our featured guest is Robert Craig, who I am so proud, pleased, honored, and delighted to meet with you all today. And I just want to share with you that Robert is the award-winning author of the book, The Light Bulb Strategy, and it's all about the 7 steps to switch it on and lead a brilliant life. Imagine that, folks, someone who's here today to tell us how to lead a life of brilliance. Robert is also a speaker and a coach, and he lives in the Toronto area with his wife and 3 boys. But now, hey, check this out. Robert tells me that he's better known as the light bulb strategy guy, and it is his personal mission to help you and others lead a life of brilliance by using his light bulb strategy blueprint. He even has the testimonials from the likes of Brian Tracy, Raymond Aaron, and Jack Canfield says that for its creative and unique light bulb strategy, Blueprint provides the framework to help you plan and lead a brilliant life. Oh my goodness, how amazing is that? But now let's back this up, because Robert comes from a real strong, solid background. He comes from, oh yes, many years in training, operations, project management, and if that's not enough, he's also a leading figurehead in marketing strategies, and he's going to bring all of that here with us today. And he's also did real estate investing. So let's dig in deep and find out about the light bulb strategy and the 7 steps to switch it on and lead a brilliant life. Welcome, 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 Robert, to the call.
Valerie, thanks for that incredible introduction. I'm so glad to be here.
Amazing. So, I am just so curious to know, and I want you to share, what is the light bulb strategy and how did you come up with this concept?
Well, the light bulb strategy is something that I came up with. It took me about 2 years to develop it and create the program and write the book. And basically what it is there's so much content out there in the personal development world. And what I did was I wanted to try and really simplify it for people. And so what I did was I came up with this light bulb strategy, and the blueprint is actually a drawing of an actual light bulb. It's a standard incandescent light bulb. And each part of the light bulb represents the 7 steps, the things you need to do that can help you lead a brilliant life.
Okay, that's amazing. And so what is the light bulb concept that you come up with? There's a blueprint, right? How does that work?
Yeah, so it's kind of hard because we're kind of like doing radio here. So it's kind of hard from a visual point of view to show you what it is, but I can explain what it is. So if you look at a standard incandescent light bulb, if you look at, say, for example, the base of the light bulb, and so the base of the light bulb, it represents your inner light of brilliance. It's who you are. So step 1 of the light bulb strategy and I call it change the light bulb. And at the start of my chapter, I say, how many psychiatrists does it take to change a light bulb?
Right.
Just one, but the light bulb has to want to change. So this is all about, and I'm not talking about going out and changing yourself because you're irreplaceable. You can't do that. But I'm talking about changing the way you think, changing maybe the people you hang around. So the light bulb strategy is all about, finding your brilliance, growing your brilliance, and then sharing it with others.
Okay, so keep going. That's step 1, is it?
So step 1 is we can talk about, for example, your habits, for example. So when I talk about habits, I use the analogy of a dimmer switch. And so, when you're the dimmer switch high on a light bulb, there's a lot of brilliance that comes out from the light bulb. So I call those habits of brilliance. And if your light bulb is dimly lit, it means your dimmer switch is low. That means you might have some negative or bad habits. And so, we got to be looking at these habits and how we can switch those negative habits and change them into positive habits or habits of brilliance. Maybe we need to, look at drinking more water or exercising more. So, reading more. So these are all habits of brilliance that you can develop over time.
So, Robert, this is just such great stuff. I'm really loving this.
And could mean changing the way you think. For example, a lot of people have limiting beliefs. And so, people say, I can't do that, or I'm not smart enough to do that, or I don't have time to do that. Well, I call that 60-watt light bulb thinking. It's a limiting belief. So how can we change the way we're talking to ourselves so that we can become a 100-watt light bulb, a 1,000-watt light bulb, a 5,000-watt light bulb? You need to change the way you talk to yourself. So just by turning around and asking yourself a question is, how can I do that? Or how can I find the time to do that? And our minds are we're goal-seeking creatures. So when you start asking yourself questions like that, your brain starts to go and look for answers. The other thing in Change Your Light Bulb is I talk about is your habits. And I use the metaphor in the book called the dimmer switch. And the dimmer switch shows, if you have habits of brilliance, that means your dimmer switch is operating at high and you're providing a maximum energy to your light bulb and it will, glow brilliantly. So if you have positive habits, it's good. But if you have negative habits, maybe, it's drinking or smoking or whatever it is, if you have these negative habits and they go on too long, it can burn out your light and it could even burn out your light for good. The other thing that I talk about is, I asked the question, who invented the light bulb? And, people say Thomas Edison, of course. And Thomas Edison didn't invent the light bulb, but he created or invented the practical incandescent light that was sustainable as a light source. But a lot of people don't know is that Thomas Edison had a lot of failures as he went through. I mean, I don't know if you know this, Valerie, but Thomas Edison actually had a cement company.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yes, and it was interesting because he actually was building houses out of cement. And even the furniture in these houses were made of cement. So not very comfortable, but as you can see, it wasn't a very successful venture for him, and it was a failure. He also created the first talking doll. And this talking doll, actually, when you listen to the recordings of this doll, the voice of the doll is actually more scary than, so it wasn't comforting children out there. It was actually probably making them more scared. So again, it was another failure. But we don't hear about these things, these failures. And when Thomas Edison's talked about, some of these failures, when he was creating the incandescent light, he's saying, I haven't failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that don't work.
Awesome.
So step 2 of the light bulb strategy is it's represented by the screw cap of the light bulb. So if you can visualize the screw cap, there's all the grooves of the light bulb. And on the blueprint drawing, there's actually 3 grooves on the light bulb blueprint. And each of those grooves represent your goals, your vision, and your mission. And the reason why the grooves are so important is that it's one continuous screw cap. So they're all interconnected. So, when you come up with what your overall mission is in your life, what it is, what your purpose for being here, as you drill down, and once you figure out what that mission is, then you have to have your vision of, what are you looking at 5-10 years out? So your vision is driving towards your mission. And then even going down to another further level is your goal setting. And your goals, need to be directly related to what your future vision is. And so in the book, I talk about there's a thing called the clear light bulb. The most important thing when you're doing goal setting is I call it clear light bulb thinking. And that is actually having, total clarity on what it is you want to accomplish. And that gets down to, writing your goals out. Because we have a thing in our brain, it's called our reticular activating system. It's called our RAS filter. It filters out all the unimportant things around us because there's so much data and information around us that if our brain absorbed it all, we'd actually go crazy. So our RAS filter helps to zone out those things that aren't important, but it also helps to focus our brain on what is important. So, like, for example, if you're in a crowded room and someone calls out your name, you turn your head and say, oh, that was my name. Because as your brain, that's important to you. So your RAS filter understands that. So when you write goals and you write down your goals and you actually physically write them down, they go into your RAS filter, into your brain. And so us being goal-seeking creatures with the law of attraction, these are the things we want to attract in our life. So when we write the goals down, these our brain goes out to try and find these things that can help us to achieve our goals. So the clear light bulb thinking is all about having clarity of what we want, and by writing it down, it gets our brains working on that.
Awesome. Cool. And what is the next step?
So the next step is step 3, which is power up your light bulb. And that is represented by the actual contact tip at the bottom of the light bulb. This is where you actually connect with your power sources. And I use the example, well, I call it your why power, but there are also a bunch of other power drivers like your health, relationships, and finances. But the why power, gets back to understanding why is it that you're doing what you want to do. So the first step was who you are. The second step is what you want to do. And now this third step is why you want to do it. So it's all where you're going to get your energy from.
The fuel.
The fuel, you got it. So there's an author, Darren Hardy, and he's got a book, a great book called The Compound Effect. And he uses an example in there saying, if I took a plank of wood and maybe it's about a foot wide and say 30 feet long, and I just put it down on the floor. And I said, if I give you $20, would you walk across this plank of wood? And of course you would, because it'd be an easy $20, right?
Exactly.
But then he says, what if I took that same plank of wood and suspended it between two 100-story buildings? Would you still cross that plank of wood for $20? No. But then he asked, but what if on the other side your child was there and the other building was on fire? Would you cross that plank of wood to save your child? Absolutely. That's your why power. That's understanding why power.
Yeah. Okay. So that's strong enough. And then what is our next step?
So step 4. So after you've determined your why, and again, all your power drivers are your health and your relationships and your finances. So I call it your health is the night light, sleeping right. Your bike light is exercising right. The fridge light is eating right. And then, you get into your relationships. I call it, it could be candlelight or relationship with your children, which is our mini lights. So step 4 is once you've discovered who you are, what you want to do, why you want to do it. Step 4 is how you're going to do it. And I call step 4, it's build yourself a better light bulb. And so it's all about how you're going to do what you want to do. So, the first thing you want to do is once you understand is to get just reading as much content of what it is you want to do. So I call it the book light. A lot of my learning and a lot of my mentorship that I got was just reading a lot of great books. I mean, I've got a massive library here in my home office here, books that probably I'll never be able to read, but just building this vast library. And so the book light is just the importance of sitting down and blocking off time, like first thing in the morning. I love, just getting up in the morning with my cup of coffee and just, reading great content. The other important thing about how to do it is I call it your guiding lights. So these are, finding mentors in your life that can help show you the way. And John Maxwell, there's a story in his book, The 15 Laws of Growth. And he talks about a superintendent who runs a factory and one of his machines breaks down. So he calls in an expert to fix the machine. And so this guy comes in and he comes in with a little toolbox and he puts his ear up to the machine and then he reaches into his toolbox and pulls out a little hammer and he starts tapping on the machine. And the machine comes to life, Valerie. It just comes to life and starts working.
It works.
And the superintendent is just amazed and says, oh, thank you so much for that. And the guy leaves. Well, later on, the superintendent gets an invoice from this repair guy, for $1,000. And the guy says, well, that's $1,000. I'm not going to pay this until you properly itemize this invoice. So the guy says, he sends back another email later. He says, for the tapping of the machine, $1. For knowing where to tap, $999.
Oh, wow.
And that's the beauty of mentors, is that they show you where to tap. So just love that story, and just the importance of mentors. You can't figure it all out on your own. There's so many people that have gone before us who've done things that we want to do. So why not, take advantage of that and learn from that? I mean, you could pay a lot of money for great mentors, but like I said, you could also, get a lot of mentorship and great advice by just reading great content.
So that's very cool, because you don't need to reinvent the wheel, as we've always heard.
Exactly.
Okay.
So then I guess we can talk about step 5. And step 5 is actually represented by the glass globe of the light bulb. And step 5, I call it protect your light bulb. And so the glass globe itself represents time because time is fixed. If we lose money, we can make that back. But if we lose time, we can never get it back. So the glass globe, it's hard, it's fixed, but the brilliance that can come out of our light beyond the light bulb globe is unlimited. So things like I call it your time, time management, being distracted by the light is another thing. So being distracted by the light. So, how much are you, looking at your phone and looking at messages? How long are you surfing the internet? How much time are you watching TV? So these are all things I call distracted by the light. So this is all about how to protect your time. It's also about protecting your mind. And so I call it light up your mind and protecting what you let in. So this glass globe, inside the glass globe, it represents the environment in which you in. So there's the inert gas within the light bulb itself, but that really is kind of your oxygen, that in your environment, and you need to protect that environment and what you let in. So the glass globe is also, how can you deflect things, that you shouldn't be letting into your mind. So a lot of people, maybe you watch too much news on TV or read the newspaper, and our brains get going on all this negative content. So one of the things I recommend, instead of listening to the news on your drive into work, is maybe listen to a great CD or audio program.
Right.
And try and feed your brain the good stuff.
So, Robert, it sounds like we need to keep what we value sacred. We've got to protect that and keep it just like something you would, a valuable piece of, anything of value to you. You just got to protect it and keep it sacred, right?
You got it. You got to protect what we let in.
There you go. And let's keep on going now. What's the next one?
All right. So step 6. So it's actually, it's represented by, so I'm coming from the support base, and that's where we have our books and our mentorship. And then you got your globe. And then within the globe, you've got the two lead-in wires, the 2 filament wires that lead up to the main filament wire. So there's 2 wires that come up. And one wire represents your personal life, and one represents your work or career life. And so this is where you work to get these 2 in balance. And when you work to get these 2 in balance, that's when your filament glows brilliantly. And although you can never achieve full balance, we could always try to, work towards that. So step 6 is switching on your light bulb, and it's all about the execution part of the strategy. So this is, all the steps leading up to this have been your planning, and now it's executing on your plan, because having a great plan without execution is delusion, right? So if I, for example, when you switch on your light bulb, the one section I talk about is the spotlight. And that really is, what are you focusing on today to lead you forward towards your goals, your vision, and your mission? So the spotlight is focusing on what are those 2 or 3 things that are important today to get done. And then I talk about a string of lights. And the string of lights analogy is, it could be a string of lights, it could be little LED lights. And each light on this string represents a day of the year. And over time, if you have a small light each day, over the course of the year, that string of lights provides a lot of brilliance. So it's just starting small and working and having the discipline and working on these goals daily, that will lead you to brilliance.
Very cool. And then what's our final step as our program comes to an end?
So step 7, Valerie, is now reflecting on your brilliance. And so I've got it where there's actually, different levels of brilliance. So this is represented by the actual glow from your light bulb. So it's, it's adding value to others, to being significant, to being iconic. It could be being an expert in your subject matter, to becoming a genius, to becoming a master, having pleasure, to being, having happiness, to feeling fulfillment. So it's all about how can you reflect on your brilliance. And so a lot of that is also getting feedback from other people on how you're doing. The one thing I really love to do is journal. So I call that capturing your brilliance. So one thing you can do is just, capture, daily or maybe just weekly how your week went, what worked, what didn't work. And so I call it capturing your brilliance. And it really brings awareness to what you're doing and allows you to have more focus.
Yeah, I see
And,
what you're saying. When you put it in front of you, that gives you something directly to look at. That's what you're meaning, right?
You got it. You got it. So the other thing, like the light streams of brilliance, I mean, I say, adding value, significance, and being iconic. And when I say being iconic, it doesn't mean that everybody in the world knows your name, meaning that you could be adding value to one person, And just to give you an example, I mean, I love, the great testimonials I got, but my favorite testimonial I got, Valerie,
Yes.
was from my 12-year-old son.
What did he say, Robert?
He says, and he wrote me a letter, and I got home one day, and so I've got my 3 boys, Valerie, and they're my best students, whether they like it or not.
Of course.
So I came home, and one day I saw this letter on my desk, and it said, "Dear Father," he was being very formal with me here. He says, "I'm giving this $15 gift card to you as a token of my gratitude for inspiring me to do great things when it comes to reading, business, and strategy, and not giving up. I hope that one day I will inspire you and my children as much as you have inspired me. Thank you for all that you have given me."
That
Love,
is
Nicholas.
so great. That is so great. I love it. So let's have your final thoughts, Robert. That is a great way to conclude everything. What are your final thoughts, and what do you want our listeners to know? Give us your contact information, what you've got on your website stuff, and then we will bring this program to a conclusion.
Yep. I mean, I have a thing called lightheartedness. I mean, life can be difficult, but I think, lightheartedness is all about, not being so hard on yourself, and then really enjoying the journey and just embracing the challenges that you have. If you're interested in learning more about the light bulb strategy, you can visit my website at www.thelightbulbstrategy.com. There you'll find lots of information about upcoming events, speaking engagements, webinars that I'm going to be hosting. So I'm also offering, if you want to get a hold of me, I can give you a half-hour free coaching consultation, and I'd be happy to talk to you and see if we can have the light bulb strategy help you with your leading a brilliant life.
Wow. Robert, this has just been so phenomenal. I love great messages, great content. And you're just another jewel out here, just another golden nugget. So I so appreciate you. I don't take lightly that you take out your time to share with us your amazing works that so many will greatly benefit from. So for that, I love you dearly. And our program has come to an end, so we're going to say goodbye. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Valerie.
Bye.
You have been listening to the Rich Flow of Life podcast with host Valerie Kanay. We're most appreciative you took the time to be with us, and thank you. For more action, go subscribe to Valerie Kanay Talks YouTube channel and like us on Facebook at Valerie Kanay Talks and follow us on Twitter at Valerie Kanay. Until next time, we love ya.